Good morning, boys and girls. I'm Eleanor Hawkins, and welcome to Telestory Time. You know, this is a very special day. This is Easter Eve, the day before Easter, and we're all excited. And we want to read this as our opening. Here comes Peter Cottontail. Here comes Peter Cottontail, hopping down the bunny trail. Hippity-hopping, Easter's on its way, bringing every girl and boy baskets full of Easter joy. Things to make your Easter bright and gay. He's got jelly beans for Tommy, colored eggs for Sister Sue. There's an orchid for your mommy and an Easter bonnet too. Oh, here comes Peter Cottontail, hopping down the bunny trail. Hippity-hoppity, happy Easter day. And that is, here comes Peter Cottontail. And boys and girls, I want to open our show with our first story, and I've chosen 9 Rabbits and Another. One night in early spring, as the rabbit family began getting ready for bed, they heard a knock, knock, knock at their little green grass door. Mr. Rabbit said, "Someone is there." "Who do you think it is?" whispered the 7 little rabbits. "Is it company, or is it a strange wild animal?" Their father told them, "I will go myself and see." So he walked across the floor, thump, 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 in his garden shoes and opened the door a crack. There stood a tall, scraggly rabbit with bent-over whiskers and kind, tired eyes. His ears looked wilted, and his suit was old, and he had no hat. On his arm he carried a big basket with a cover fastened down. "Good evening," said Mr. Rabbit. "Oh, good evening," said the scraggly one. "You couldn't take me in for the night, could you? I have come a long way, and I still have far to go." "We haven't a single extra bed, I'm sorry to say," Mr. Rabbit told him. "You can see for yourself how many there are of us. My wife and myself, 7 children. Oh, that makes 9. Our house is full, just plumb full." The tall, scraggly rabbit scratched his head and looked up at the sky. That's bad news for me," he said. "It looks like wet weather, and I am tired way down to my toes. But if you don't mind, I would like to lie down in your little front yard. You have some nice dry grass to stretch out on. Are you sure you'll be all right?" "Oh, yes, and thank you. Good night." "Good night," said the rabbit family all together. They all had been watching and listening when the door was shut. Mrs. Rabbit said, "Poor thing." "Yes, it is too bad," said Mr. Rabbit. "But what else could we do? We are quite crowded as it is. 9 rabbits in this small house. Another one is just too many." The children ran to the window. "Now he's lying down," they said. "He's put his head on a stone." Their mother thought a minute, and then she told them, "I do think he'd be more comfortable with a pillow. I can spare mine," and she took it right out to him. "Why, thank you," he said. "Now my head will be as cozy as a bird in a nest." Mrs. Rabbit looked pleased. "That was very kind of you, my dear," Mr. Rabbit said when she came back into the house. The children were still watching from the window. "Now he's scattering grass all over his legs," they said. "Only not enough. His long feet stick out." The smallest rabbit giggled at this, but the older one said, "Don't laugh. He's a poor scraggly rabbit without a bed." "Grass really doesn't make a very good cover," said their father. "I have 3 blankets on my bed. I could spare one." So he got a nice thick blanket with pink fuzz all over it and took it out to the rabbit in the yard. The scraggly rabbit sat up so suddenly that the grass scattered in all directions. "Oh, well, thank you," he said. "Now I shall be as snug as the root of a tree." Mr. Rabbit was smiling when he went back into the house. "That was very kind of you, dear," said his wife. Then the children called out, "Oh, oh, it has begun to rain. Drops are coming down on his face, and he's wrinkling his nose and opening and shutting his eyes. May we take the big red umbrella out to him?" "Oh, that's very thoughtful of you, my bunnies," their mother told them. "Hurry it right out to them," said their father. So the 7 little bunnies rushed out the door in a clump, carrying the big red umbrella. The scraggly rabbit put it right up. "Oh, thank you," he said. "Now my face will be as dry as a pebble under a mushroom." When the little bunnies came back into the house, they looked delighted. "Now he's all fixed up for the night," said Mr. Rabbit, "with a pillow and a blanket and an umbrella." But while they watched, the scraggly rabbit dropped the umbrella. The rain dribbled down on his face. The family all hurried to the door and called out, "The umbrella, the umbrella, you let go of it." The scraggly rabbit opened his eyes quickly. "Why, so I did, but how can I remember to keep on holding the handle when I go to sleep?" None of the rabbit family knew just what to say. Then Mrs. Rabbit suggested, "Well, why don't you just come in and sleep on the floor in front of the fire? Oh, there's a good thick rug, and you can still use the pillow and the blanket. And in the house you will not need an umbrella at all," smiled Mr. Rabbit. So very soon the rabbit family company was stretched out on the floor, with his basket beside him. He looked up at them happily and said, "Now I'm as nicely fixed as a turtle in a shell. Oh, I know I shall have a good night's rest. Thank you." "You are very welcome," said the family all together with a bow and a smile. Then they all went to sleep. Soon the little house was quiet. There was just the sound of the fire dying down and the rain on the roof. But when the family got up in the morning, their company was gone. The pink fuzzy blanket was neatly folded up. The pillow was on a chair. "But why didn't he say goodbye?" asked the little rabbits, looking very disappointed. "He probably had to leave early. He said he still had a long way to go, and he didn't want to disturb us," their mother told them. "But he might have just said thank you." "Oh, now he did that," said their father. "Why, he thanked us very nicely for each thing that we did for him." "Well, he might have left a note or something," said the next to the littlest rabbit. But just then the very littlest rabbit gave a happy cry. "He did leave something. Look, look on the mantel." And there on the shelf above the fireplace was a row of 9 lovely little green baskets, all tied with yellow bows, and each one was filled with candy eggs. Mr. Rabbit looked surprised. Why, that fellow was the most famous rabbit in all the land. He was the Easter Bunny. "And we didn't even suspect," Mrs. Rabbit said. "Well, we could have asked him in right away if only we had known," said the oldest little rabbit. Mrs. Rabbit smiled. "Oh, it was much better this way. I was glad we made him cozy by our fire," she said. Later on, they sat down to eat the eggs the Easter Bunny had left. The littlest rabbit of them all took one little rabbit nibble and clapped his paws happily. He said, "Isn't this candy just dandy spandy?" The other little rabbits, who were very much too busy to talk, just smiled, which meant that they certainly did agree. And that is the story of 9 rabbits and another. And now, boys and girls, stay tuned, and we'll read from our Big Do You Know book in just a moment. And now, boys and girls, I'm going to read from our Big Do You Know book. Do you know all about Easter? Do you know painted eggs, candy eggs, bunnies, baby chicks, white lilies, new clothes, sunrise church service, all reminds us of Easter. Do you know the Christian religion began with Jesus over 2,000 years ago? Jesus, the Son of God, lived on earth, died, and was brought back to life by God. Christmas marks Jesus' birth, and Easter marks Jesus' resurrection. Do you know how long there have been Easter eggs? Well, long, long ago in Japan in the 1500s, they had Easter eggs. And then Easter egg dyeing became popular in England back in the 1880s. Do you know dyeing hard Easter boiled eggs beautiful colors has been popular in many countries, and it became a favorite way to decorate eggs by the Pennsylvania Dutch many years ago in our country. Do you know we look forward to Easter Bunny filling our Easter baskets every year with surprises, and he's done that for many years. Boys and girls, be sure and remind your mother that you would like to color Easter eggs today. It is a tradition in our family to color Easter eggs every Easter Eve, and you know we have a great time doing it. Be sure, boys and girls, to visit your public library. Any of the libraries in the Craven, Pamlico, Carteret Regional Library System. Be sure and visit during your Easter break and check out some very good books on your very own library card. And now, boys and girls, I'm going to show you some of my Easter egg collection. First of all, I have my Easter basket here with some many pretty eggs that I've collected. First of all, this is a golden egg that opens, and it's made of paper mache and very beautifully decorated with flowers. And then this is an egg that has been painted with little chicks and Easter eggs. And then this one is a very fancy one that has gold braid all over a velveteen egg. And then someone made a yarn Easter egg. Can you imagine that? And I have them in different colors. And then my mother, many years ago, made me this Easter egg, and I have to go to the bottom. It's very fragile. And you will see that it is made out of ceramic. And here she painted the Easter bunny holding an Easter egg. Can you see that? Yes. A beautiful ceramic egg my mother made. And then last year, when we were dyeing our Easter eggs, I saved this one. And I like to make a multicolored egg when I color eggs. Isn't that pretty? I saved that one. And then I have to mention this one. This is a very, very popular egg over in the old country. And they actually paint this in different layers and make this design on a very beautiful wooden egg that is the base. Yes, these are very popular over in Europe. And then this is one of my fancy eggs. And this is very much like a reproduction of the Fabergé eggs. And I want to tell you more about the Fabergé eggs right now very quickly. Carl Fabergé was a very crafted jeweler who lived over in Russia. And boys and girls, he was commissioned by the Tsar of Russia to make beautiful eggs out of gold and silver and real jewels. And here I have a bracelet that is a reproduction showing how beautiful these eggs really are. These eggs were made for the kings and queens, and they became popular, and Carl Fabergé made these eggs, and they were probably this big. I'll show you, about this big, much bigger than this. And they were a popular thing all over Europe in the 1800s. Beautiful, beautiful Fabergé eggs, and I really do enjoy wearing mine. Boys and girls, stay tuned, and we'll be back with a story in just a moment. And now, boys and girls, I'm going to read you the story, The Enchanted Egg. A fuzzy yellow duck was the first to find the mysterious egg. He was crossing the green meadow on his way to Pussy Willow Pond for a swim. And there it was in the deep grass under a clump of daisies. "Oh," he cried, "what a beautiful egg!" He waddled all the way around, staring and staring. It was a lovely coral pink color with sparkly stars and tiny bluebells painted on it and bands of squiggly white icing going up and down. And what do you suppose is inside, he wondered. Mrs. Robin was spring cleaning her nest in the old apple tree. "Come and see the big, beautiful egg," cried the fuzzy yellow duck. Mrs. Robin dropped her dust cloth and took off her blue gingham apron. She flew down from the tree top and hopped around the big egg, her bright eyes shining. "Well, where did it come from?" she asked. "I don't know," said the fuzzy yellow duck. "It was just here. I think it's an enchanted egg." "Oh, of course it is," said Mrs. Robin. She picked up a buttercup and put it on her head to keep the sun off. "Let's roll it out from under the daisies," she said, "and then we can see it better." They squeezed in behind the enchanted duck. "1, 2, 3, go," shouted the fuzzy yellow duck, and they each gave a shove. Now the egg rolled out into the middle of the sunny meadow. They ran after it, but it didn't stop rolling. It went faster and faster till it was spinning like a top. Across the meadow it went, through the clover path, and under the honeysuckle hedge. "Hurry, hurry," screamed the fuzzy yellow duck. "It mustn't roll into the woods." "No, it mustn't," shrieked Mrs. Robin. It might get lost or broken or something." And they raced on after the enchanted egg. Zick, boom, the egg rolled on down the hill, heading straight for Dinky Elf's wee little house under the mushroom. Now Dinky was rocking in his little rocking chair, feeling very lonely and wishing something terribly exciting would happen. And just as he was wishing, the crash came. Bumpity, boom, bang. The enchanted egg struck against the door of Dinky's little house. "An earthquake," cried Dinky, and he ran to open his door, but it would not budge. "And add a bomb," howled Dinky. He ran to open the window, and then he scrambled onto the windowsill and peeked out. Well, his front yard was filled with a large pink thing, all glittering in the sunshine. Mrs. Robin was perched on top, fanning herself with her buttercup bonnet. A fuzzy yellow duck was sprawled on the grass, very red in the face from running. Dinky jumped down from the window, landing in the middle of his prize tulips. "Is this a flying saucer?" he asked. "Certainly not," said Mrs. Robin. "Well, it's an enchanted egg." "Oh, how exciting!" cried Dinky. "How simply terrific!" He bounced up and down with glee, and then he stopped bouncing. "Enchanted means magic," he said, "and if it's magic, it must do something, but what?" "Well, we don't exactly know," said the fuzzy yellow duck. "In fact, we don't know at all," added Mrs. Robin. Just then, Great-Grandmother Owl flapped out from the deep pine woods. She settled down on top of the wee mushroom house and peered at the enchanted egg through her bifocal glasses. "Mercy me," she screeched, "I haven't seen an egg like that since I was a girl. I wonder what picture is inside." "A picture!" cried Dinky, Mrs. Robin, and the fuzzy yellow duck. "There are always pictures inside of the enchanted egg," said Great-Grandmother Owl. "Little scenes like flowers and waterfalls and fairy princesses. Just roll it over and look in the window." So they all pushed and pushed. They pushed the enchanted egg till it rolled backwards, and they found a little round window with its frame. and it was all covered with squiggly white icing all around. Everyone crowded up and peered inside. How marvelous! How simply super! Shouted Dinky. Oh, I see a castle with tall towers. I see knights in armor riding white horses, called the fuzzy yellow duck. I see a fairy princess on a balcony, whispered Mrs. Robin. Great-grandmother Owl took off her bifocal glasses and wiped away a tear. I remember seeing pictures just like it when I was young, she sighed. They looked at the lovely scene for a long time. Then Great-grandmother Owl said it was time for her to go home. But I'll be back tomorrow, she promised, and off she swooped. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to stay a while, said Mrs. Robin wistfully. Oh, so would I, said the fuzzy yellow duck. Oh, please do, cried Dinky. Well, we'll have a picnic. He skipped into his wee house and came back with cookies and milk and a red checked tablecloth. Then he spread the cloth on the green lawn beside the enchanted egg. Oh, I just love picnics, he said, but I've never had one because I didn't have any friends to invite. And now you've got me, cried Mrs. Robin. And me too, quacked the duck. Now they sat cross-legged on the lawn and ate their cookies and milk, and they kept on looking at the wonderful picture inside the enchanted egg. The knights went on riding their white horses beneath the castle, and the fairy princess looked down from her balcony. And you know, overhead, the stars came out one by one. And that, boys and girls, is the story of the enchanted egg. And now stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a moment. And now I'm going to read from this little book entitled Easter Sunday. It's Easter Sunday. Look at our new hats. At church we pray and celebrate. Time for the egg hunt. Look who found a basket. I'll surprise everyone with flowers for the table. And we'll all eat Easter dinner. Just pull up a chair. And that is the little story entitled Easter Sunday. And now I have time enough to tell you what a wonderful time you can have today and tomorrow. Remember to talk with your mother and father about boiling some eggs and dyeing them different colors. And you know, you can have a good time having a contest to see who can actually dye the prettiest Easter egg. We do that every year at our house. And boys and girls, be sure and have a good time planning to go to Easter sunrise service and then to church service, and then looking forward to a wonderful Easter dinner. And then what else? Go to an egg hunt. We have egg hunts all over this Easter season. I know your church has one probably, but be sure and try to get to go to an Easter egg hunt. It's so much fun to find Easter eggs and put them in your Easter basket. And I collect eggs, as you see, and every year I find some more for my Easter basket. Boys and girls, it's time for us to close our book of stories for this morning. But from all the libraries in the Craven, Pamlico Regional Library System, and from WCTI TV 12, and from Telestory Time, Happy Easter.